This private vendetta of yours could easily compromise Her Majesty's government. You have an assignment, and I expect you to carry it out professionally and objectively. Oh, dear me, I'm terribly sorry. The brand new 2021 MGHS plug-in hybrid. It has 258 horsepower, and it costs an awful lot of money. But is it any good? Should you care? Why, let's find out, shall we? MG, let's go.
Here we are with anchors tying us to what we'll call home, even if the sight of it has not yet touched our eyes. And here we are and we're together, even if we are apart. And we're together when we're together, something big is happening among us. It's not as if we don't have to deal with our shortcomings. It's not as if we don't have to wipe away the tears from time to time.
So welcome once again to another episode of Tweed Jacket Reviews. Today we are in Dudley in the West Midlands, as we seem to be a lot at the moment, and this is the brand new 2021 MGHS plug-in hybrid exclusive. This car costs in the region of £32,500, but the base model for the plug-in hybrid is about £30,000. Very grateful to have been lent this car by John Newey at the team at Summit Garage in Dudley. So thanks, Summit Garage. Thumb it. With me today, socially distancing, is my usual videographer and Tweed Jacket Reviews co-founder, Mr. Franks. And we'll be taking obviously necessary precautions because we are in a tier 3 area here today. But we wanted to get this car to you as quickly as possible because, as far as I know, the only people who've actually driven this car so far are MG Motor UK staff and those who work at dealerships. The response that I have had to putting up a review of this car, just as a quick walk around, has been remarkable. So this is now the full review. I'm wearing my tweed jacket, and before we go into more detail about the MGHS plug-in hybrid, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Please like this video and leave a comment below. It really helps out and allows us to spread the love of tweed jackets all over the internet. The MGHS was first introduced in this market anyway in late 2019, almost exactly a year ago, and back then we were actually driving a car which from the outside looks almost identical to this, a normal petrol car. Now the one we drove cost in a region of £23,500. That's the MGHS exclusive manual. The automatic version cost a little bit more, about £25,000. So this is quite a step up from that. It's about, spec for spec, about £7,500 more. Back in the day with plug-in hybrids, it was absolutely wonderful for many owners, and not just the company car advantages, but also the tax advantages, because the government would give you a £3,500 grant if you were to buy a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. That would have been nice, particularly kind of now, but with the government's new policy that all cars from 2030 onwards that are sold new in this country have to have some form of electrification, that plug-in grant is now only available on pure electric cars, so this misses out on it. But actually, if you look at the sort of prices, something like a Vauxhall Grandland plug-in hybrid, that's about £34,500, whereas this top of the range car, the exclusive, with things like scrolling indicators and a full leather interior and just about every extra you can imagine apart from front parking sensors, costs £32,500, and of course you get a standard 7-year warranty. First of all, I'm just met with a sense of complete and utter sort of smoothness and almost silence as driving around this car. The petrol engine is there. It's the same 1.5 litre 4-cylinder turbo engine that's in the normal HS. That generates 165 horsepower in the non-hybrid version. And in this car, because it's coupled to electric motor, the total power output is 258 brake horsepower. Now that's similar to things like, I don't know, a Volkswagen Golf GTI, and so it does feel very lively. And at the moment I'm going down this hill. I'm going to put the car into EV mode because we don't need a petrol engine at the moment. We're just sort of driving around Dudley at about 30 miles an hour. We don't need the petrol engine at the moment. The only thing I would say about that is it's a little bit cold today. It's about 6 degrees, and so if you want the heater on, you can't necessarily have the car in completely electric mode. You will have to have the petrol engine kick in sometimes. It's still appreciably bigger than the ZS Automatic that we've just been filming, but it doesn't feel too big to handle. This is a comparable size to something like a Ssanyon Corando, Skoda Karoq or Kodiaq. It sort of fits in with two, and it just feels remarkably composed. The suspension's nice and supple and soft, and I've got to be very careful now. We're going past the speed camera. I'm just going to make sure that, you know, a letter from the police doesn't arrive on Summit Garage's doorstep because I've been speeding, because it just has so much power. 0 to 60 of this car is 6.9 seconds. It's absolutely crazy. So if we are going to be in EV mode exclusively, then we have a range of about 32 miles on the WLTP cycle, and also an extended range in town of about 43 miles. In front of me is a 12.1 inch colour touchscreen, which actually gives me all sorts of information about the sort of charging, and if I scroll through the menus, we'll look at this a bit in more depth in the practicality section and the interior section. But there's so many things on here. We've also got a 10.1 inch touchscreen at the top of here, and we've got MG famous pilot system fitted to this car. So we've got adaptive cruise control, bicycle detection, pedestrian detection, blind spot monitoring, rear parking sensors, 360-degree camera. This goes on, reversing camera. We've got blind spot monitoring in this car. It just goes on and on and on. The CO2 emissions of the car are 43 grams per kilometre of CO2 on the WLTP cycle, and the 0 to 60, sorry, the miles per gallon figure is something ridiculous, like 155.8 miles per gallon. I don't think we're currently getting that on our trip today. It's a little bit cold to support the full EV mode at the moment, and we don't seem to have a lot of power. We've got 31 miles remaining, but it's just running now as a normal hybrid. Obviously it's got stop start to the engine, it will come on and off as it sees fit. Full LED headlamps on this car, and full LED rear lights. It's also got scrolling indicators. It's just remarkable. One of the things people have said to me is, oh, it's so expensive. I'm like, well, if you want to equip, say, a Hyundai Tucson to this level, then if you go for, I don't know, the one that has a 1.6 litre petrol engine that's roughly comparable to the one in the normal HS, the automatic, that costs £25,000, then actually the Tucson will cost you £32,350, so it's £150 saving, and you don't get the plug-in system. If you wanted to have the mild hybrid that they actually offer on the top spec, the Premium SE Automatic, then that is about £35,000. In fact, it's £36,180, and that's for a diesel. And as usual, we don't talk about diesels on this channel. So compared with something like a Corando that we actually filmed the Jacket reviews late summer to August, September time, that was actually a diesel. It's a very nice car, and the interior is a beige leather one, and they actually cost about the same. The spec for the one that I tested was about this level of money, and they does have a few extra features that this perhaps doesn't, like ventilated seats, which Mr. Franks very much enjoyed. This only has multi-stage heated seats. But I don't know, it's really close. I really like this car, and oh my gosh, 258 horsepower! That was 30 to 60 and not very long. Not very long at all. And we're not even in the full power mode. Wow, this thing's fast. And it feels composed as well. I have driven electric cars before, and we're gonna be testing the MG5 EV very soon, but you'll see on the channel. But this, my goodness gracious me, this thing's fast. But you know, if you don't need this extra hybrid powertrain, you can save yourself a lot of money. But there's a real problem. Once you've tasted that power, and you know you can get if you plug it in 155 miles per gallon and up to 40 miles of EV range in town, then this car starts to become an awful lot more exciting.
Here we are with anchors tying us to what we'll call home, even if the side of it has not yet touched our eyes. And here we are and we're together, even if we are apart.
Wow, that certainly was a lot of fun. Anyway, time to get my more rational head back on and have a look at the more practical side of the MGHS plug-in hybrid and take a look in the boot. So there are a couple of ways that you can open the tailgate on an HS plug-in hybrid with exclusive trim. You can either use the key like I just did, you can use the tailgate release there, or there's a button actually inside the car to do it as well. I do apologise, the car's not quite in tip-top sort of validated condition. We've had to film this review really quite quickly, and so there hasn't been time to do it. We come to the boot floor. Now in a normal HS, if you opened it up here, you wouldn't see all sorts of things. Like here we've got a 12-volt battery, we've got a tank manhole, we've got a 3-pin granny charger here, we've got all sorts of things. On a 3-pin granny lead, which you get as standard, the charging time for the battery is about 8 hours. If you have a 7 kilowatt fast charger, like a wall box or something like that, then it is considerably faster. The boot volume of this car is a little bit less than the standard HS, which is 463 litres, it's 448 litres. What we do have in here is a very nice LED boot light, but for some peculiar reason we get this lovely low blind, and you can see here we've got the reclining rear seats in their forward position, but there are no hooks of any description at all. There's nothing to hang some shopping bags on, which I think is a bit of a problem. As with the standard HS, there's an awful lot of room in the back of here. It's really comfortable, even in this reclined forward position. I can actually recline the seats further back by doing that as well. You can see them moving forward and back, but I'll just leave them there for now. We've got a massive rear armrest in here with compartment in the lower part of the armrest there, and we've also got 2 cup holders. It's very reminiscent of a certain premium German brand that I couldn't possibly tell you for legal reasons. We do have some mat pockets at the back of here as well. We've got some vents as well for the climate control for the rear passengers. These are the exclusive seats. They are genuine leather and they're sort of rally style seats. I quite like them, as well as this red stitching, but it always reminds me of the 2014 MG3 we used to have, as well as this lovely panoramic sunroof, which is really helping us in this the dark, dingy winter day. There are also little lights here that you can turn on and off, individual lights at the back, which is a big step up from a ZS, for example. There's actually absolutely loads of room in here. There's
more room, I think, than in any other car that we've ever tested. We've got huge amounts of knee room. Headroom, considering we've got a panoramic sunroof, is also really, really good. And it's incredibly comfortable. I might just lie back a second here and relax. Now, these door tops, they are soft touch. They're not the sort of softest of such as I've ever used, but they are nice. We've also got audio speakers in here. We've got very premium sound system in this car. We've got the lever on the door here and here. Electric rear windows, of course, and very large door pockets. So 2 speakers in each rear door. Probably a total of at least 8 or 10 speakers in this car. It is just a really, really nice place to be. Getting into the front of an HS, just as easy as getting into the back. And with these amazing sports seats with this eDrive logo on them, it feels ever so comfortable. Past Alcantara too. Bit different from the manual HS that we tested last year. We've got this little stubby gear lever there, as well as hill descent control and this EV mode. Also got a button here for turning on the 360 camera. That's a very useful feature indeed. And the electric tailgate as well. This compartment has a little sort of roller shutter here, so you can put cups in it or hide better away, which is really good. I do like this sort of brushed metal effect finish, which actually does feel like there's some metal in here, or I might be wrong about that. And inside here we find 2 USB ports and a 12-volt socket, which means we've got 4 USB ports in this car in total. The driving position is very, very good. The wheel does actually adjust for reach and rake in this car, unlike in a ZS or any ZS, I should point out. We've still got the trademark NG vents that they got inspiration from a certain premium German manufacturer that I will not mention for legal reasons. The door tops are soft touch plastic, just very nice quality materials. The switchgear is quite familiar to many people who've had an MG over the last, say, I don't know, a couple of years, but it just feels a little bit better with a little silver trim on here. Nice soft touch, genuine leather. Steering wheel feels very nice. MG pretty much use the same steering wheel in all their cars now. One thing you will notice actually with this being a electrified MG is that both these buttons here are blue. That's generally sort of a trademark of the electrified MGs, that they have these 2 blue buttons. Automatic lights and wipers, of course, but for really interesting stuff, we're going to have to start up the engine and have a look at the central touchscreen. So if I turn the car back on again, which takes for some reason an extraordinarily long time, we can see this enormous central display and the completely digital instruments. In a standard petrol HS, the instruments are actually half digital, half analog. In this one, they're fully digital. I prefer analog instruments myself, but this seems to be the trend these days, and it is similar to something like Audi's virtual cockpit, which is quite nice, although you can't have navigation actually on this digital screen here. So if we move to the center display and use navigation, we've actually sort of warm this up, because if you go from cold onto this navigation, it can take a little while. So it's easy enough to use, although to be honest, if we press this key back here to go to the main menu, you can see that Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard, and that is something that you're far more likely to use in a car like this. 360-degree camera, you can either press this button here or that button there to turn it on. It's very, very, very good quality in this car, particularly with this big central display. And it did help me out when I was getting out of a really tight space at the dealership just now before we came to film. Also in this car, we've got all the MG Pilot features, which is MG's sort of safety suite. And it is just a remarkable, remarkable set of features. If we just turn it on here in the menu, just go to it. We've got forward collision warning. We've got rear driving assist. You can turn these ones on and off. Blind spot detection, lane change assist, rear cross traffic alert. It's just ridiculous. Speed assistant, speed information warning, intelligent speed assist. We've got driving and maintenance here, which has even more stuff on it. We've got stability control on and off.
battery level control. We can control battery according to driving behaviour. It just depends. I left it on default. I don't really know what happens if you put it on medium or high. It's it's saving energy if you get caught in a traffic jam or something, I think. And covered in convenience, we've got ambient lighting that will try to get an in shot of it. It's blue at the moment in this car. Auto high beam assist. You've got auto locking doors, passive unlock. We've got all kinds of extraordinary things in here. We've got an automatic, even blower level or wind level, as we say if we're familiar with a facelifted MG ZS. But so many different settings in this car, it'd take you a lifetime to work this out. If you've got sat-nav directions on the screen, for example, like this, and when you're planning a route or whatever, but now you want to adjust your temperature, well, you touch that and it just takes the whole screen up. So whatever you were doing, if you were, for example, having route guidance actually whilst you were driving, which because I'm not driving at the moment because it would be very dangerous for me to stop fiddling around with this, this would interrupt you and you'd have to sort of fiddle around if you wanted, for example, the air to be repositioned or the heated seats to be on. I mean, you've got to get rid of it by doing that, and then we're back on the sat-nav. But it just doesn't really kind of afford itself to very quick changes in the heating and ventilation system, which I think is a real shame. One thing straight away that you'll notice is the amount of different things we can scroll through on the instrument panel here. This is showing the batteries in the back, and then of course we've got the engine in the front. We've got a trip computer as well. That's the total trip computer. We've got tyre pressure monitoring as well. There's also the voltage of a 12-volt battery and information about the hybrid system as well. For some reason, the only way you can get a rev counter up is to go on the system hybrid info, because this isn't a rev counter, it's a power meter. So yeah, it's a little bit annoying in that respect, but you get used to it, and it is very, very nice looking. I'd probably suggest that you tweak this depending on what you want to have on the screen, but it's actually easier to use than you think. Let us see if the secret mission documents fit inside the glove box. Why, yes they do. So I've retrieved the secret mission documents again because I need to talk to you about finance figures. So at the moment there's a 0% finance deal on this particular car and other electrified MGs in the range. So if you put down a deposit of just over £5,000, £5,232.50 over a 48-month period, this is an annual mileage of 8,000 miles, then it will cost £349 a month, which isn't actually that bad, but it's actually quite competitive. The balloon payment on that is just over £10,000 over the course of 4 years, but of course, literally your mileage will vary on that, and it's obviously worth bearing in mind. But if you go for the standard HS, the non-hybrid version, then it will cost you well under £300 a month. In between the driver and the passenger, there's this enormous big, what feels like a damped armrest, which actually, I think this even slides back and forth. There we go, it slides back and forth like that. This is chilled by the air conditioning, which is rather nice on hot days, although it's certainly not hot today. The door pockets are actually quite big, and the secret mission documents go in there with no problem at all. In terms of visibility, you do need that reversing camera and the parking sensors. Unfortunately, front parking sensors are not available. They're a dealer fit option. Forward visibility is quite good, although the bonnet of the car is quite long. So then, what do I think of this MGHS plug-in hybrid? I think really you do have to make sure that you can take advantage of this HS's many wonderful attributes: the 30 to 40 mile electric only range, the amazing amount of power, and of course, like all MGs, a standard 7-year 80,000 mile warranty. However, it is a touch on the pricey side, as most plug-in and hybrid electric cars are, and so if you want to save money, you can either go for a ZSEV if electrification's your thing, or just the standard HS manual or automatic. Oh, excuse me, I'm terribly sorry. I owe it to later. He's laid his life down for me many times. Thank you for watching this episode of Tweed Jacket Reviews. My name is Joseph Lloyd and I find cars for people on a professional basis. To find out more, please visit my website or my Facebook page. Links are in the description below. Thank you.
Look up now.